Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. It is good to be talking with you today. Thinking about last week when we were vacationing, one of the things that we do and have always done is road trip. And I've really enjoyed road trips. In fact, we have a great big 12-passenger van that we call lovingly the Black Pearl. And there's a whole bunch of reasons for that. Yes, a little bit after the Pirates of the Caribbean. And also, one of the things that the Black Pearl represents is freedom. The opportunity to roam and to go wherever it is you want to go. As long as you got gas money and a full tank, you can be off and away. You might need a little bit of food and clothing along the way. One of the things that I have always loved to do is road trip. In fact, the Black Pearl, one of the things that we did when we first owned it is we planned a road trip that consisted of 80 hours of driving. Now, right now, you may be thinking, screaming children and absolute not enjoyable. However, what we found is that when you have enough space in your vehicle that the other child isn't breathing the other child's air, and believe me, I know this, we have 7 children, and they can get rather, let's just say teasing to one another. One of the things in this last road trip that we did, we have much older children now. They kept on calling each other's feet dogs. I got to get those dogs away from me. And of course, as soon as one child says to the other child, get those things away from me, what do? Immediately start teasing each other. But with the Black Pearl, you have enough space to be able to get away from the offending child. The 80-hour road trip that we took when we broke in the Black Pearl, I didn't know then what I know now in regards to why I like road trips. There is the feeling of freedom that comes with the road trip. There is also the opportunity to go wherever you'd like to go. But the real reason that I love the road trip, I discovered this last road trip that we had. Now, it wasn't long. It wasn't 80 hours. It was 8 hours, give or take. And what happened on that trip in the Black Pearl while we were road tripping, while we were in the car, was a conversation and several conversations about any number of subjects, from spiritual subjects to political subjects to family subjects to living life and what we do in this life to progress and move forward. All of those subjects came up. And what we could do is really explore that subject for a long time, for a couple of hours. There were times where it was completely silent in the car and I was just driving along, and other times where for a couple of hours we would go in and out of all kinds of different subjects. And I thought to myself, you know what? This is what I love about a road trip, is the opportunity to be uninterrupted. When you take an airplane somewhere, yes, you get there fast and it gives you the opportunity to go far places. In other words, driving 80 hours in a car, you still can't get a lot of places far away, overseas and so forth if you're into international travel. But domestically, as you start to look at the road trip and you have a number of hours in the car with just the occupants, and you start to discuss any number of subjects, you can do it for a long time. And there is something about that. There's something that gives each person the opportunity to express themselves. Now, have I been in full-out fights with Jamie on road trips? Yes. She and I have been on full-out fights. And that's another interesting thing. In the road trip, you could be silent, but if it's an 8 or a 10-hour road trip and you're going from one destination to the other, there comes a point in time where feelings cool and you're able to then discuss in a calm manner whatever it was that was upsetting either one of you. I remember one road trip that Jamie and I took. We had just visited family and we were coming away from family, and you can listen to that. I think we talked about it in a podcast several months ago. Anyway, we were coming from family and we just got into a full out, all out brawl about a particular subject that was deep and sensitive to each one of us. And as we got into this brawl, there was a point, and if you've ever traveled in the United States across Wyoming, I-80 is rather desolate. There's certain places where you stop along the way, but for the most part, there's not a lot going on in Wyoming. There was a point where Jamie and I got to this place where the fervor, the pitch was at the highest it could be. And we were pretty animated in our reaction to one another. I would say, yes, we had raised voices. And she said, "You can let me out right now." This is in the middle of Wyoming. And if you know anything about this, there's no place to let anyone out in Wyoming. But what it showed was that that's how irrational both of us got, because I was feeling the same way. Well, tensions cooled. We got to the place where we could talk. And we discovered something about ourselves that we hadn't seen before. One of the things I discovered about myself is whenever I have an insecurity, I defend it ardently, because insecurities, it's the soft underbelly. And whenever I have something that I don't feel secure about, I go to this place of either total aggressiveness or complete defensiveness, and both are a defensive posture. Whereas and on this trip is where I learned this, being able to admit that I have this insecurity is difficult. It takes just some courage within to overcome the ego. And what I found is on the road trip, I could actually do that. Why? Well, because there was the time necessary to discuss it. We had nothing else that we could do, no other corner to which we could retreat. And that made all the difference. That's what a road trip has in store for you. If you want to, go out and have a road trip, and you probably have with smaller kids, it's a different experience. We could talk about that. But as you develop the road trip mentality, it gives you the opportunity to listen, to discuss, and to really discover things about yourself, your wife, your children that you hadn't discovered before. Have a great, fantastic day. Keep streaking. We don't have a streaking road trip, but one of the things that it does do as far as streaking is concerned, it gives us the opportunity to see who we are and what we want to be. Download the Streakin app. Take a look at all the streaks that are set out there for people to be improving their lives. One simple, laughably simple activity every day. Until we talk again, keep streaking.